What really happens behind closed doors in the music industry when the cameras stop rolling? Because over the past few years, one story has been circulating again and again across social media, involving Usher, Justin Bieber, and Sean Combs, and the internet simply cannot stop debating it. It all starts with resurfaced claims, old interviews, and viral commentary suggesting that the relationships between young artists and powerful industry figures may not have been as clean or simple as fans were originally told. Some people point to mentorships that began when artists were extremely young, while others argue it's just industry storytelling being taken out of context years later. But what really fueled the fire was when new speculation connected past events, private parties, and public appearances, painting a picture that fans say doesn't add up anymore. From awkward red carpet moments to unanswered questions about past associations, every clip gets rewatched, every interview gets reinterpreted, and every silence gets filled with theories. Then came the shock factor. Viral commentary suggesting tensions between major stars at exclusive events, and even claims of disagreements tied to past industry relationships. Nothing fully confirmed, nothing officially proven, but online, perception often moves faster than truth. And just when people thought the conversation couldn't get bigger, the names of some of the industry's most powerful figures kept getting dragged back into the spotlight, reigniting debates about influence, control, loyalty, and what really goes on behind fame. Now the internet is asking one question louder than ever. Are we finally seeing the truth about how the industry really works? Or is this just another cycle of rumors, speculation, and viral storytelling gone too far? Because the deeper you look into the story, the messier it starts to feel. The moment this conversation started blowing up online, people weren't just reacting to a headline anymore. They were digging through years of interviews, performances, and old industry clips trying to connect dots that may or may not even belong together. At the center of all this attention are three major names: Usher, Justin Bieber, and Sean Combs, and the internet has turned their past interactions into one of the most heavily debated topics in pop culture right now. What reignited everything wasn't a new official statement or confirmed report. It was a wave of resurfaced claims, commentary videos, and viral posts suggesting that tensions may have existed behind the scenes for years. People began revisiting Justin Bieber's early rise to fame, especially how young he was when he first entered the industry and how quickly he was placed under the mentorship of major figures. Usher, who played a major role in Bieber's early career, is often brought into this conversation. Supporters of the narrative say that Usher guided Justin through fame, but critics online argue that the environment around young artists in the industry has always been more complicated than it appears publicly. That debate has now resurfaced with even more intensity. Then there's the Diddy connection, the most controversial part of the entire discussion. Online users have been revisiting old clips, party footage, and past celebrity interactions involving Sean Combs, trying to reinterpret them through a completely different lens. Some claim there were uncomfortable power dynamics in the industry, while others strongly reject those interpretations as internet exaggeration. But what makes this situation even more explosive is how fragmented the information is. Nothing is coming from a single verified source. Instead, it's a combination of old interviews, fan theories, leak-style commentary, and social media speculation that keeps feeding into itself. And once something like that starts trending, it becomes less about facts and more about perception. Even small moments, like awkward interviews, offhand comments, or red carpet behavior, are now being reanalyzed frame by frame. Fans are asking whether they missed signs years ago, or whether they're just forcing patterns onto unrelated events. One of the biggest turning points in this discussion was when viral commentary suggested there had been tension between Usher and Justin at an exclusive industry gathering. Some versions of the story claim it was a heated verbal exchange, while others say it was just a misunderstanding blown out of proportion online. But by the time the story hit social media, it had already evolved into something much bigger than the original claim. That's how modern celebrity narratives work. A small rumor becomes a global debate within hours. At the same time, people started connecting unrelated events to build a larger storyline. Old interviews where Justin Bieber spoke about pressure, fame, and growing up in the spotlight are now being replayed and interpreted differently. What once seemed like standard celebrity reflections is now being viewed as hidden signals by some online communities. Usher's role is also being re-examined in that same light. While he has always been credited for discovering and mentoring Justin, critics argue that mentorship in the entertainment industry often comes with layers the public doesn't see. Supporters push back, saying this is simply how music careers are built, through guidance, collaboration, and trust. But the internet doesn't settle for simple explanations anymore. Every piece of content becomes evidence in someone's argument. And then there's the Diddy factor again, the wild card that keeps this entire discussion alive. Whether it's past parties, celebrity friendships, or old footage, anything associated with Sean Combs gets pulled into the conversation instantly. For many online users, he represents the center of a much larger discussion about power, fame, and influence in the entertainment world. Still, none of these claims exist in a verified space. There are no confirmed reports supporting the more extreme interpretations being shared online. What exists instead is a mix of speculation, commentary, and audience-driven storytelling. But that hasn't slowed anything down. If anything, it has accelerated it. Because the more people talk, the more theories multiply, and the more theories multiply, the harder it becomes to separate what actually happened from what people believe might have happened. And right at the center of all this confusion is Justin Bieber, someone who grew up in front of the world, constantly under pressure, constantly in the spotlight, and now constantly being re-examined through the lens of his past relationships and industry connections. The question people are now asking is not just about one incident or one moment. It's about the entire system that shaped these careers from the beginning. And that's where the story gets even heavier. As the conversation keeps spreading online, the narrative around Usher, Justin Bieber, and Diddy continues to evolve in real time, shaped more by public reaction than by any confirmed facts. Every new clip, every resurfaced interview, and every old photo gets reinterpreted through the lens of suspicion, and once that cycle starts, it rarely slows down. A big reason this story refuses to die is because people are no longer looking at isolated moments. Instead, they are stitching together timelines: Justin Bieber's early career, his rapid rise to fame, his public struggles with mental health, and his long-standing connections with industry veterans like Usher. In that reconstruction, even normal mentorship moments are being rebranded as something more controversial by some online voices, while others push back hard, calling it selective interpretation. What complicates things further is how celebrity culture itself works. In the entertainment industry, relationships between established artists and younger talent are often built on trust, access, and opportunity. But when those relationships are viewed years later through a completely different cultural mindset, the same interactions can suddenly appear questionable to outside audiences. That's exactly what is happening here. Old footage of award shows, backstage moments, and interviews featuring Usher and Justin Bieber are now being replayed across social platforms with new commentary layered on top. The tone has changed. What was once seen as inspiration and mentorship is now being debated as influence and control. At the same time, Diddy's name continues to act like a magnet for controversy. Any story involving high-profile parties or industry gatherings seems to pull him into the conversation, whether directly or indirectly. That's largely because of long-standing public speculation about his influence in music circles, but also because social media tends to simplify complex networks into single narratives with clear villains and heroes. However, it's important to note that most of what is circulating remains unverified commentary, not established fact. Much of it comes from opinion-based content, anonymous claims, or heavily edited clips designed for viral impact. Once those videos gain traction, they often take on a life of their own, spreading faster than any clarification can catch up. Despite that, the emotional intensity of the discussion continues to grow. Fans are not just debating celebrity behavior anymore, they are debating trust, power, and accountability in the entertainment industry as a whole. For some viewers, Justin Bieber represents a child star who grew up under intense pressure. For others, Usher represents the traditional mentor figure in pop music. And for many online commentators, Diddy represents the larger system that allegedly shaped the environment around them. This layered interpretation is what makes the story so sticky online. It is no longer about one event or one interaction. It has become a symbolic debate about how fame operates behind the scenes. As this discussion escalates, even unrelated moments are being pulled into the narrative. A casual interview quote from years ago can suddenly become evidence. A red carpet expression can be slowed down and analyzed frame by frame. A joke made in passing can be reinterpreted as something deeper. And once that happens, separating reality from speculation becomes increasingly difficult for casual viewers. Meanwhile, Justin Bieber himself has often spoken in past interviews about the pressures of growing up in the spotlight, the weight of early fame, and the challenges of navigating adulthood while being constantly watched. Those statements are now being reshared across platforms, sometimes in supportive contexts and other times as part of broader conspiracy-style discussions about the music industry. Usher, on the other hand, has largely maintained a professional stance publicly, focusing on his music and legacy. But in online discussions, his role continues to be dissected and debated, especially in relation to how young artists are introduced into the industry. Supporters emphasize his mentorship and success record, while critics question whether the structure of early fame always protects young talent in the way it should. And then there's Sean Combs, whose presence in the conversation often comes less from direct evidence and more from association. His name has become a recurring element in broader discussions about celebrity power structures, which means he is frequently referenced even in stories where his actual involvement is unclear or unverified. As all these threads intertwine, the original clarity of the story fades, replaced by overlapping narratives, competing interpretations, and emotional reactions from audiences worldwide. At this point, the biggest challenge is no longer about uncovering a single truth. It is about distinguishing between confirmed reality and collective speculation. Because once a story reaches this level of virality, it stops being just about what happened and starts becoming about what people believe could have happened. And that shift is exactly why this conversation keeps growing instead of fading away. Now the internet is left with a final, uncomfortable question. Are we witnessing hidden truths finally coming to light? Or are we watching an entire narrative being built from fragments, assumptions, and viral imagination? Either way, one thing is certain, this debate is far from over. As the debate continues to intensify online, the conversation has now moved far beyond Usher, Justin Bieber, and Diddy as individuals. It has evolved into something much larger, a full-scale discussion about how the entertainment industry handles young talent, how influence is exercised behind the scenes, and how easily public perception can shift when old moments are revisited under a new spotlight. For many viewers, Justin Bieber represents the emotional center of this entire discussion. He is one of the most visible examples of a child star growing up in front of millions, experiencing extreme fame at a very young age, and later speaking openly about the psychological pressure that came with it. Because of that, every part of his early career is now being re-examined, sometimes with empathy and sometimes with suspicion. Usher's name remains tightly connected to that early journey. As someone who helped guide Justin during the beginning of his rise, his role is being interpreted in multiple ways depending on who you ask. Some see him as a mentor who provided structure and opportunity at a crucial time. Others online argue that the music industry's mentorship system is more complicated than it appears on the surface, especially when minors are involved in high-pressure environments surrounded by powerful adults. Meanwhile, Sean Combs continues to be mentioned in broader conversations about celebrity culture and influence. In many online discussions, his name has become symbolic of the wider entertainment ecosystem, a system where access, proximity, and relationships can shape careers in ways the public doesn't always see. However, it's important to emphasize that much of what is being circulated remains based on speculation, interpretation, and viral commentary rather than confirmed evidence. As these narratives expand, another major factor comes into play: social media amplification. Platforms today reward emotional reactions, not verified accuracy. A short clip, A resurfaced interview, or even a single sentence taken out of context, can be transformed into a viral theory within hours. Once that happens, correction or clarification rarely spreads as fast as the original claim. That's exactly what has happened in this case. Different versions of the same story now exist simultaneously across the internet. Some focus on mentorship and success. Others focus on power dynamics and hidden tension. And many sit somewhere in between, unsure of what to believe, but still engaging with the conversation because of its emotional intensity. What makes this situation even more complex is how nostalgia plays into it. Many fans grew up watching Justin Bieber's rise from a young teenager on YouTube to a global superstar. That emotional connection makes any retrospective discussion about his early life feel more personal to audiences. When people revisit old footage, they are not just analyzing an artist, they are revisiting a time in their own lives. Usher's legacy is also being viewed through this nostalgic lens. His influence on early 2000s and 2010s R&B and pop music is undeniable, and that makes it even harder for fans to separate admiration for his career from the current wave of online scrutiny. This tension between respect and criticism is one of the key reasons the debate remains so divided. At the same time, the role of Diddy in these discussions reflects something broader about internet culture itself. Once a public figure becomes associated with controversy, whether proven or unproven, their name often becomes shorthand for larger concerns about power and influence. In this case, his repeated appearance in discussions shows how quickly online narratives can expand beyond their original focus. But despite all the theories, one consistent truth remains. There is no single verified narrative that confirms the extreme claims circulating online. Most of what is being discussed comes from fragmented clips, secondhand commentary, and interpretations shaped by public opinion rather than confirmed reporting. Still, the intensity of the conversation reveals something important about how audiences now consume celebrity culture. People no longer passively watch fame unfold. They actively analyze it, question it, and reconstruct it in real time. Every interview becomes a clue, every interaction becomes a potential storyline, and every silence becomes something people try to interpret. That shift has fundamentally changed how stories like this spread. And now, as this debate continues to evolve, it raises deeper questions about responsibility, not just of celebrities, but also of audiences consuming and sharing content. When does curiosity become speculation? When does speculation turn into misinformation? And at what point does a viral narrative stop reflecting reality altogether? These are not easy questions, and the internet rarely provides clear answers. What is clear, however, is that this story has taken on a life of its own. Whether people view it as industry exposure, misunderstood history, or viral exaggeration, it continues to dominate conversations because it sits at the intersection of fame, influence, and public fascination. And as long as those elements exist in pop culture, stories like this will keep resurfacing, reshaping themselves every time new clips, opinions, or theories enter the conversation. In the end, the audience is left with uncertainty rather than conclusion. Some will believe the narrative points to deeper truths about the industry. Others will see it as another example of how quickly online speculation can spiral out of control. But one thing is undeniable: the conversation is not ending here. It is only evolving, and the internet will continue rewriting it with every new wave of attention it receives. So now the question goes straight to you. After hearing everything, the claims, the speculation, the old clips being resurfaced, and the way social media is connecting dots across the careers of Usher, Justin Bieber, and Sean Combs, what do you actually believe is going on here? Do you think this is just another wave of internet theories where old moments are being taken out of context and turned into something bigger than they really were? Or do you feel like there are still unanswered questions about how power, mentorship, and influence really work inside the music industry? Because one thing is clear, this conversation isn't slowing down. Every day, new clips, new opinions, and new breakdowns keep adding fuel to the fire. And whether people agree or disagree, everyone is still watching closely to see what comes next. Now it's your turn to speak. Drop your thoughts in the comments. Do you think this is all just exaggerated storytelling, Or is there something deeper behind the industry relationships people are now questioning? If you enjoyed this breakdown, make sure you hit the like button so this video can reach more people who are following the story. Subscribe for more updates and deep dives into the biggest celebrity controversies, and turn on notifications so you never miss what drops next. Because in a story like this, silence only means the internet keeps writing the ending for you.